Rabbi Isai, welcome to our Monday night shiur. Our shiur, before we start, is sponsored first and foremost by the Pinchas of the Shimono families. May Hashem bless them, send them with bracha, revacha, tzlacha, yishod li'olot, parnasa v'shefa, refuah shlema to Reuven ben Shoshana, v'zot Hashem yidrach chaim arukim. And also our shiur sponsored today. We're also doing a small hesped. That's the Sephardic world lost a very big chacham today, Rosh Yeshivat Porat Yosef, who Rav Ovadia Yosef, Zecher Tziddush Levracha, handpicked him to be his successor, Rav Shalom Cohen. So our shiur is to be Bischuto, Lischuto, and we should all be under his umbrella. So our shiur is sponsored Atzlachat Ariel ben Miriam, Hashem Shalom Alav Bracha, Vacha, Atzlachat Banim Zecharim. And one anonymous sponsor is Chut Kol Am Yisrael V'cheni Ratzon V'nomar. And so before we start the hesped for Rav Shalom Cohen, maybe you guys didn't feel him or see him as much as you guys knew Rav Ovadia Yosef, Zecher Tziddush Levracha. But believe me that Rav Shalom Cohen, the Rosh Yeshiva Porat Yosef, he was the son of Rav Ephraim HaKohen Zilcha. Chacham Ephraim HaKohen was the Rosh Yeshiva of a yeshiva called Oz Vehadar when the Sephardic Jews first came to Yerushalayim. Everybody when they come, especially Sfaradim, Mekubalim, they only want to go to Yerushalayim because they know that the Shekhinah is Mitgalel, like we learned in Sharei Orah. Where is the Shekhinah's place? In Yerushalayim. That's the place. That's where you see Yad Hashem openly. So when the yeshiva of Porat Yosef first opened up, there was a very rich guy from Mumbai, an Iraqi Jew from Mumbai. His name was Yosef Shalom. Yosef Shalom. And he asked the Ben Ish Chai, through his Shamash, Rav Ben Zion Chazan, he asked him, I want to ask the Ben Ish Chai, what should I do with my money? Should I open up a hospital? I want to open up something in Eretz Yisrael. I want to have a Yad Vashem. I want to have a name in Yerushalayim. Should I open up a hospital in Yerushalayim to help people? There was no hospitals during the Ottoman and the British mandate in Yerushalayim. Or should I open up a yeshiva? And the Ben Ish Chai told this very rich Gvir from Mumbai, Iraqi Jew. He said to him, hospital, anybody could open up in their life. Anybody could open up a hospital. This one could open up a hospital. Even a Chiloni wants to, even a secular Jew would want to open up a hospital to help. He wants to be a philanthropist, right? But a yeshiva, it takes a person with a love for Torah to open up. I suggest you open up a yeshiva. And he did, and he called it Porat Yosef, after himself, obviously. His name was Yosef Shalom. Yeshivat Porat Yosef. From this yeshiva came out Rav Atiyah, Rav Ezra Atiyah, came out Rav Ben Zion Abba Shaul, came out Rav Ovadia Yosef. All the great Sephardic luminaries that we all know, that we learned their halachot, came from this yeshiva.
Big schut.
Not just a big zechut, the biggest zechut to sponsor Torah. Now, unfortunately, the yeshiva was destroyed during the Jordanian War, 1967, during the 6-Day War. It was destroyed. They reopened it again. They didn't stop. The Chachamim, they didn't have fundraising, they didn't have GoFundMe or the Chesed Fund. They didn't have match me for $1. Every dollar you have is match. They went and they collected. Yerushalayim was Aniyah back then. It was very, very poor. And they went and they collected house to house and they built a building. Till today the building is standing. Rav Ovadia Yosef, they wanted to make him Rosh Yeshiva of that yeshiva, but he was a man of the people. When you become a Rosh Yeshiva, you can't be a man of the people. You become a man of Talmidei Chachamim. You can't deal with the people anymore. Your mind is in the Gemara, to teach Sugiyot, is to teach the Halacha. Rav Ovadia Yosef, he was a man of the people. He wanted to go down into the people. Like it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, it says, Lech red. Hashem told him, go down, ki shichet amecha, because your nation sinned. Now, the Zohar said it's talking about the Erev Rav. Moshe took the Erev Rav out. Go down from your place of stature because your nation sinned. But the pshat is, what's the pshat? Go down, Moshe Rabbeinu. Because it's not fair that you're going to be on a high level of prophecy on Har Sinai while the nation of Israel is doing averot. So go down. A leader has to know how to join himself with Klal Yisrael. And that's why we have to understand the pshat. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu die b'chutz la'aretz? He died b'chutz la'aretz because it's not fair that 600,000 Jews that he led out from Eretz Mitzrayim to go to Eretz Yisrael will die, and suddenly the leader, the VIP, is going to go inside the Eretz Yisrael. No, you were responsible for them. You have to stay with them. And where did he stay? Right against the biggest avarah that they did before they got into Eretz Yisrael, across Baal Peor. On the top of the mountain, that's where he is. Right there, Moshe Rabbeinu is. Lo yada ish et chivurato. We don't know exactly where he is, because Hashem doesn't want us to make a deity, a god, out of his makom kivura, just like the Muslims do. The Muslims make not a deity, they make close to it. They make a shrine out of the places of the kivura of their lahavdil, their holy men. We're not allowed to make a shrine, a deity, out of our tzaddikim. And this is something we have to also talk about today. Even though we believe in the chachamim, we love the chachamim, and our life is the chachamim. You know, chayim is life in Hebrew. Chayim is 68. Gematria, chet is 8, yud is 20, mem is 40, 68. How do you say in Sfaradim, we used to call our rabbis chacham. We said this before. Chacham is also gematria 68. When we talk to our chachamim, we call them chacham 68. So it says in the pasuk, Re'eh anochi noten lechem hayom beracha. Beracha, that's the chayim. At the end of the Parashat, talks about Hashem shows us the chayim, the life. Torah is life. Life could sometimes be sour. Life could sometimes be hard. Life could sometimes be, we don't find, it's hard for us to have children. It's hard for us to have parnasah. It's hard for us to find a community. It's hard for us to find a house. It's hard for us to find an architect. It's hard for us to get married. Everything is hard. But that's chayim. That's chayim. When everything is easy, I just want to say one small thing before we're going to get back to it. We're going to go back to Rav Shalom Gadaev in a second. I was talking to somebody this week. I don't like dealing with a lot of personal stuff. Naturally, I'm a very soft person, and it really hurts me. Rav Shaul, his wife, he was from Parashat Yosef. His wife had 10 miscarriages. You notice 10 miscarriages? 10? And late miscarriages. Not early, late. He was a Persian Jew. His parents made aliyah from Persia, from Paras. His 11th kid survived. Of Eliyahu, Abba Shaul. I think he passed away not long ago. A couple of years ago he passed away. He was a big Rosh Yeshiva. He also grew up in Parashat Yosef. Also, they say about his son, Rav Eliyahu, Abba Shaul, that he was a big hooligan in the yeshiva. It was a very big, but in the yeshiva they said, we're not going to kick him out. We're going to invest in him. When he grew up and he himself became a Rosh Yeshiva, they said it was worth it to open up the holy yeshiva for this person that was a hooligan. It was worth it to open up for him. Of course, you need a lot of hindsight to see what a person is going to be. It's not easy. Not everybody could have the capability. Not everybody has the capability to be a gadol in the future. Not everybody has the capability to give that love. But I just want to say, when I was speaking to somebody this week, a person who had it very good in their life, very good. I'm not making up stories to you. If you want, after the shiur, you could come and ask me for names and pictures. I don't mind. Not that I'm going to show it to you, but I do have. And it's speaking to me, and it says they had it all. Multi-million-dollar business that was doing in construction, was doing amazing. Children, boys and girls, a huge mansion, cleaning lady. Kids accepted to all schools. Not like us, we have to beg over here, you know. We gotta, please take us and break the quota, break it, you know. Let another Sfaradi inside your yeshiva, please. No, everybody went in easy. They called me up. I'm not gonna say who, the husband, the wife. Basically, the whole structure of their life was totally destroyed. Husband, he decided to put a lot of his money in Bitcoin. He took a loan, took everything out, put it in Bitcoin. Exactly at that time, everything fell. I don't know what it was, 50,000. It was 62. It went down to 20 years. He lost everything basically. He put in over, I don't know, $1 million, $2 million in there. He lost everything. He got into drinking. And then drinking went to gambling. And then she caught him doing shtuyot. Basically, balagan. Today, everybody sees them on the outside as if it's some kind of Brady Bunch. Everything is going good, but inside, a lot of hurt and garbage. Not every time you see something on the outside, it means it's good. Just because you see Chaim, that people are living the life. They're going on vacation, life is good, they have a nice house, they have kids, they're all well dressed, they all go to bed. Doesn't mean life is good. But sometimes on the outside, you see people that seemingly they're not, but in the inside, you open up their little house, everything over there is full of Chaim, full of bracha. Re'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom bracha. I'm giving you bracha. It's your choice. You choose the bracha. You choose to live by bracha, or you choose to live by klal. What does Rashi say? Al menat shetishmeu. I'll give you the bracha, but it's all on condition. You gotta listen. If you don't listen, you don't get the bracha. A lot of people on the outside, they look like you're doing good. That's why I never ever look at people's life past the streets, see big houses. Wow, amazing. Such houses, such bracha. You don't know what's inside the house. It's not cliche. You say,
wow, beautiful house.
but at the same time, you don't know what's going on in there. You understand? And trust me, you don't want to know what's going on. Sometimes I personally don't want to know. From what I've heard, from what people have confided in me, the little that I've confided in me, they never confide in me because I don't want to deal with it. I just want to know my daf of Gemara. I want to see my kids successful, my community successful. I want to see Mashiach Tzidkeinu. I want to see the Beit HaMikdash. I want to bring a korban. That's all I want to do. I don't need anything else. But the people that do confide in me, trust me, whatever you see on the outside is not what's going on the inside. And that's a secret. Re'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom bracha. Rashi says, Asher tishmeu, al menat asher tishmeu. You have to listen. What's the point of a beautiful house if your kids are off the derech? I had a person call me a couple of months ago, well-to-do person, crying. What's he crying about? His kid became Levi, as we say in Russian. Levi means to the left. He starts to shake a rainbow flag. He said, I don't believe in I said, I don't want to keep Torah. I don't want to keep Mitzvah. I don't want to do anything anymore, he told me. I said, well, first of all, I'm not going to write to a Kamiya. It's going to change anything. What do you want from my life? But I'll tell you something, maybe do a little cheshbon nefesh, why you were doing mitzvot, why you were giving tzedakah, why you were doing this. It's a test in life. It's a test in life, and you have to learn how to accept it. You can't throw out your kid. You can't say, my kids, you have to learn how to accept it. It's very hard, but you know what? Also, it's very hard that a person has an obsession with different averot. Also, that's very hard. We all know what I'm talking about over here. That's also a very big avera. How come we don't look at Chilul Shabbat like that? It's very hard. How do we accept Chilul Shabbat? How do we? It doesn't say in the Gemara if Am Yisrael would have kept two, would have never been like that. Mashiach would have said, if Am Yisrael wouldn't have kept Shabbat. Why? How come we don't accept Shabbat? The Chafetz Chaim Hakadosh. One time he was crying. He saw a big train that was going on Shabbat in a Jewish city. He saw Jews going on the train. He started to cry. So they asked you, Rebbe, why are you crying? He said, the first time I saw Jews going on a train on Shabbat, I fainted. The second time I already, okay, they mechalel Shabbat. For that I'm crying, that I don't feel anymore what a Yid does when he does Chilul Shabbat. We're desensitized already. We don't feel it anymore. By the way, our generation is the most desensitized generation. We're the ekev, we're the heel of Adam HaRishon. In the heel, over there, you don't feel anything. You can put a needle over there, you're not going to feel, until you go to the mamish, the muscle over there, you're not going to feel anything. But you know what? The whole body stands on the heel. Everything stands on the heel. No matter what, everything stands on the heel. And that's why our generation is going to be the ones who will bring Mashiach Tzidkeinu. We're going to be the ones that will do the right things with the Shemid. Because you know what? Even though not much is expected of us, we will do the unexpected. We will do the unexpected. I want to ask you guys a question. Where did we find in the history of the world, 800,000 to 1 million people to go to a Levaya of a Tzaddik? Rav Ovadia Yosef, they stopped counting the people in his Levaya after 800,000 people. You know what? In the CNN news, they said that today the Rav Shalom Cohen passed away. Who would have thought that in CNN they would say that Rav Shalom Cohen, you know who he was? You know who his father was? His father, his father was a Shovav, Chacham Cohen. Shovav. He was a hooligan. Kid that runs around in the Bet HaKnesset, makes balagan. That's how they said the stories. He was a hooligan. And back then and today also it's like that. When the older people see a kid that's rowdy, especially Beit HaKnesset, they say, they give him a smack, put him in a spot, And Ben Ishchai was a big kapdan. I always see this in my shiurim. His Hilullah is coming up. And you'd give it September 9th is his Hilullah, I believe. It says, Ben Ishchai used to say, don't touch this kid. This kid is mine. He's my kid. When that boy grew up, he was a Kohen, Chacham Ephraim a Kohen. He was the only one that used to learn with the Ben Ishchai Chavruta personally. Ben Ishchai was not like who you think. You see in his book, everyone quotes Ben Ishchai, Ben Ishchai, Ben Ishchai. Ben Ishchai would come out of his house once a week on Shabbat to give a drasha and Shacharit Mincha and Arabi. That was it. He wouldn't deal with the kahal. He was a very closed person. He used to be in his room. Nobody knew who was going in, who was coming, except for Chacham Ephraim HaKohen. This hooligan kid, Ben Ishchai, he made a testimony. He testified that they're Kohanim until Yecheskel HaNavi. Until Ezekiel, the prophet, was a Kohen. And he's buried in Iraq. So Ezekiel married in Iraq. His first wife died in Israel. He remarried in Iraq. And they had descendants. And from that descendants was Chacham Shalom HaKohen and his father Chacham Ephraim HaKohen. They were descendants of Yecheskel. The Ben Ishchai was Me'id. You saw through Ruach HaKodesh. They were descendants of Yecheskel HaNavi. This Chacham Shalom Kohen, Chacham Ephraim HaKohen, they were such tzaddikim. They said Chacham Shimon Agassi, he was the leader after the Ben Ishchai. There's a mitzvah, last week's Parashat, you have to stick yourself to tzaddikim. Stick yourself. Uledofka bo. You have to, the pasuk says, Et Hashem Elokecha tira. You have to fear Hashem. How do you fear Hashem? You have to work on it. It's not going to come 1, 2, 3. I'm going to learn a Musar Sefer, I'm going to fear. You have to work on the fear. First, you start in the beginning. If I fear the Reshit Chochmas, if I fear an animal, if I fear a bear, if I fear a Doberman dog, I'm not going to fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu who made that dog. You work on yourself. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it takes itbonenut. We're used to everything being 1, 2, 3 in life. I learned Torah, I have to remember it already. It doesn't work like that in life. Everything takes work. You need to work. You want to work on your kavanah, you have to work on it. They say when you wear tefillin, the Ariya Kadosh, in Shar Kavanah, I don't think I ever told you guys this before. There is a book called Divrei Shalom. The Rashash's grandson. He lists over there certain things a person could do to get chokhmah. Doesn't a person want chokhmah? You want to be a chacham? So he says, the Ariya Kadosh said, if you wear tefillin of Rabbeinu Tam every day, you're going to mesik chokhmah. Now I can guarantee you, I've seen many people who've worn tefillin of Rabbeinu Tam. Not only don't they have chokhmah, they've gotten less chokhmah since they worn it. Then the Ari says, you have to do tikkun chatzot. In tikkun chatzot, there's a chapter over there you say, I think it's chapter 111 in Tehillim, and after that you have to think the letters Mansapach. Mem, Nun, Tzadik, Pei, Chaf. If you do these two things, you're going to be mesik chokhmah. How come we see many people do it? There's no chokhmah. When you do a mitzvah, there is ma'aseh, the action. There is dibur, the speech. There is the kavanah. And then after the kavanah, there's something called a machshava. Machshava. What's the difference between kavanah and machshava? I want to ask you guys. The Ari says, every time you do every time you do a mitzvah, it's an angel. But those angels, says the Ari HaKadosh, sometimes you're going to see them in Shammai after 120 years. It's without a hand, without a leg, without a finger, without a tongue. What good? You need a kind of shamash like this? The Ari says, because anybody who doesn't do a mitzvah these 5 ways, I mentioned 4. The 5th way, I'll tell you in a second. What are the 5 ways you do a mitzvah? If it's applicable, maaseh, you gotta do the mitzvah. You can't say, I'm gonna sit down like a monk all day from China, or the Shaolin monk, you're sitting over there, and you're gonna think of Hashem all day, and that's it. I thought about him, I wore tefillin, I did mezuzah, I did everything. Yallah. That's not the Torah. Torah doesn't believe in nonsense like that. You have to do the ma'aseh. You gotta actually do the mitzvah. If you don't put on tefillin, no one's gonna wear tefillin for you. If you're not gonna put a mezuzah in your house, nobody's gonna do it for you. If you don't keep Shabbat, nobody's gonna keep Shabbat for you. You gotta do it. You can't just think about it. The second level is the dibur. What's the dibur?
Bracha.
You have to see, you gotta make a bracha. Asher kidishanu tzivanu al netilat lulav. Now, if you shook the lulav without actually saying the bracha, you did the mitzvah. But how is that? That's an angel with one leg. He's chalach. He's walking around like this. You want him to be normal? You actually have to say the bracha. But if you say the bracha, sometimes you look at a really nice person, but deep down, inside, once he opens his mouth, it's full of yeser hara, let's call it. Person goes out on a date. She looks so nice, so good. She's just tzaddikus. But once she opens that mouth, oh God, the shark just opened its mouth. You're like, whoa, take it easy over there. See you next Gilgul. So that's called kavanah. To make it work inside, you need kavanah. What's kavanah? I'm doing this mitzvah because Hashem told me to do this mitzvah. That's the third. It's kavanah. That's kavanah. Once you have the kavanah, you have the nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama. You're good. That means that's all that's asked from you. At least that. To do the mitzvah, to make the bracha on the mitzvah, and to know who you're standing in front of. Rabbi said, how many times do we daven Shmona Yisrael and we don't have the basis of the kavanah? I catch myself sometimes doing that. Sometimes I catch myself. Usually when I do ala tzadikim, when I say the word tzadikim, I think to myself, Lifnei mi ata omed? Who am I standing in front of? It's a basis. The Rambam says it's a basis. If you don't know who you're standing in front of in tefillah, your tefillah has no kavanah, it doesn't count. It doesn't count. The Rambam says it in Chot Tefillah. Higher than that, it's already where the Mekubalim were. What's that? Not even Mekubalim. Machshava. What's Machshava? What's Machshava? Machshava is to know how does Hashem, through your tefillah, make the olamot work. When I bow down, what am I bringing down? When a Jew bows down, he doesn't just bow down. He brings all the olamot down. The Ari says he brings the yud to the hey, then he picks up the hey to the yud, and the vav down to the hey, and the hey up to the vav. You have to know what you're doing over there. But that's already a high level. That's called machshava. I'm in the olam machshava atzilut. But then that's already. If you do all four of that every day, I'm telling you, you're going to be a Baal Ruach HaKodesh in a month. It's a lot of avodah. These tzaddikim that you see, 100,000 people go to their levayot, 10,000 people go to the levayot, all these people. What do you think their whole life was? La'avodat Hashem. To serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They thought of nothing else. But you see, a person who's listening to this shir says, oh, listen, I gotta ovedet Hashem. I gotta go to yeshiva and just all day shtai. What did we learn in Shabbat, in our shiur? What did we learn? A person who doesn't have a wife, he's not ovedet Hashem. A person who doesn't raise his kids, he's not ovedet Hashem. How do you see tzaddikim? All 5 of their kids. This rabbi, Rav Shalom, he just passed away. He had 3 or 4 sons. All of them Rashi Yeshivot. You think that's something easy? People have to cry all day and all night. Women have to cry, but in Erot Shabbat have to cry that their kids come out to be Talmidei Chachamim. Instead, what are they crying for?
A house.
To buy a house. What are you crying for? In 40 years, they're going to say Kaddish on you. What are you crying for? You're already 30. Another 40, you're going to be 70. By 70, you don't enjoy anything anyways. What are you crying for in life? Anyways, Hashem is the one that gives you the house. Anyways, He's the one who does it. You could buy a house, you're not going to get any approvals for anything until the boss says it's stamped. I'm not talking about the DOB. They too are the bosses. I'm talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Until He doesn't give the stamp, milamata they don't give the stamp. So what are you crying for? What are you crying for? Instead of crying, L'Shem Hashem, to have Ziladim Tzadikim, Kedoshim, to have good Kelins, to have good daughter-in-laws, to have good son-in-laws, you should bring your kids home for Shabbat, they should speak Torah, they should be in yeshivot. Instead of doing all that, what do we say? Just give me more materialism, make me look good more, make me feel good more, give me more shtuyot to feel good on. For what? For what do we say that? You know why? It's going to hurt, this answer. It's going to hurt. Because we don't really believe in Hashem 100%. We believe in Him 99%. We don't want to sweat. we feel that we're entitled to the good. You know, the whole book of Eov, the whole book of Job, Eov, it was written by Moshe Rabbeinu. The whole book was for one reason only. Eov thought that he was entitled to live a good life. And Hashem at the end tells him the one sentence that answers all questions: where were you when I created the world? Who says that you're entitled? Who says that you're entitled? Who says that you deserve it? Of course, we would love to see in our life a Rasha does an Avera, and right away, boom, he gets the onish. What would happen if we would see that? The next day, everybody would be tzadikei yesod olam, right? If that's the person starts the car on Shabbos, and suddenly, boom, the car blows up. Putin, our friend Vladimir in Russia over there, he has a friend. I forgot his name. Who cares what his name is? He has a nice friend that they say he was the architect of the Ukrainian war. So they tried to bomb the guy, but instead his daughter went inside the car. She was driving the car in the what do you call the highway, and suddenly the car, you say Kaddish al Israel. There was a nice fireworks show. It went Le'olam haba. Well, to their Olam haba. You understand? Huh? Let me just finish what I wanted to say. The point I want to say over here. Let's see. Look at the guy. All of his life, he said something. He had fame, fortune. And this guy, I don't know what his name was. He had everything. Putin was his best friend. He gave him in 1 second, all of his life went Lailatov. His descendant, his continuation. I want to ask you a question. How come the first mitzvah in the Torah is to have kids? Not to get married, to have kids. Why does kabuta bi, we say in Russian? Hashem circumvents the marriage part, which should be an obvious first, and say have kids. Why does Hashem do that? The Midrash says that when God created the world, He made a Leviathan, a Leviathan, this kind of mythical creature that's so big that if they would have reproduced, the whole world would have went Laila Tov. Literally, good night. So what did Hashem do? He took the male, and he cut off his reproductive parts, and he took the female, killed it, pickled it. So we're going to make out of its skin a sukkah in the future. So everybody says, what's the point of even making them? Just make the female, make the skin, and that's it. Make the male, cut off his... It sounds like if it was Peter right now, and they would learn this midrash, like, listen, we would have a lawsuit on our hands over here. How you gonna kill the female? It's animal cruelty. You can't do that. Elama, says the Ari Kadosh. It's not what you think. That Leviathan is the Samech Mem. Is the Samech Mem. The female is Lamed Yud Tov. We don't want to mention her name. We don't want her to visit us. When Hashem created the world, He wanted to make a distinctive difference between us, which is Kedusha, and the Samech Mem. And the only difference, listen to me this, if you understand this, you understood, I'm telling you, a big part of the Etz HaChaim. The biggest difference, and maybe the only difference, the main difference we have between us and the Satan is one thing. We're able to reproduce. That's it. The Satan can't reproduce. It's a saris. It's a symbiote. It has to live. It's a virus. How does a virus live? It latches onto something alive. Even a bacteria is kedusha. Bacteria is alive. Satan is a virus. It needs something alive to latch onto to live. When a Jew says, I don't want to have kids, I don't want to reproduce, I don't want to learn Torah, I don't want to make Chidushei Torah, I want to live my life like the Kagoyim. Yeah, I want to enjoy myself. What's wrong? I'm not hurting anybody. You should know one thing. He just turned into a virus. So the Torah says, Hashem changed the whole, not changed, He put the whole story together in such a way where even Moshe Rabbeinu, he didn't have a boy and a girl. He just had two boys. And Hashem agreed with him. But Hashem said, you didn't go the extra mile to have that girl, to finish the mitzvah prayer of Yah, you're going to come back. And you know who he's going to come back as? As Mashiach Tzidkenu himself. The Zohar says the first Redeemer is the last Redeemer. That's Re'eh Chai. What's Chaim, Rabbi Yisrael? Chaim is family. All the Sfirot that I always say in my stream, 10 Sfirot, 10 Sfirot, 10 Sfirot, these 10 attributes of Hashem that He created, you know what they are? A family. Abba, Ima, and Zun. Zun is what? The son and the daughter. When you live in a family setting, you are Yudke Vavke. You are revealing Hashem. There's nothing, Rabbi Victor Miller says, there's nothing more beautiful in the world than a Jewish family. That's why when a Jewish family breaks, the Mizbeach cries. What's the Mizbeach? Why does the Mizbeach cry? Because that's where we bring all the korbanot. What's a korban? Sacrifice. If you don't know how to sacrifice, you can't have a Jewish life. So keep on crying for your big house, for your $1 million. Go look at these people's lives. May you never see them. But look at it, it's so beautiful. And look at what you have, Ribono Shel Olam. You're living a life of Kedusha. You're living Hashem's name. When you're a father and you have a wife, it's a mother and a son and a daughter, you are living Yudke Vavke. I can't even explain it even more than that. You're a living Shem Hashem. What does the Gemara say? What does the Navi say? In the future, the Goy is going to come to you, 10 from every nation, 70 from every Kanaf. He's going to hold on to you and say, take me with you to Yerushalayim, because I heard that Hashem is with you. What is the Navi? This week's Navi. It says over there, the Goy, when he's going to see Shem Hashem, he's going to understand that Yoshka. This week's Parashat talks about a false prophet. Mamish, look at it, it's Yoshka. He's going to take the Jew and he's going to put him on his shoulder and he's going to say, I'm going to take you, I'm going to walk you to Eretz Yisrael. I'm going to walk you to your, I'm going to take you there. Not like Mitzrayim where they said, yalla, let's go, get out, or take whatever you want, just go. No. He's going to take you there. Where do we say it? In Tefillah we say, not in the Shachri Minchana, let's see who knows, or Jewish trivia of the week. Where do we say that the Goy is going to take us held high in the future Geula? Where do we say it? It's in a bracha on food. Where do we say it? Everybody say. Where in Birkat Hamazon? Ha'achaman hu yolichenu mehera komimiyut la'artzeinu. Hashem, take us soon. Where? What's komimiyut? You ever realize what the word komimiyut means? It's from the word koma. Koma means standing upright. This Geula is not like the last Geula, where we had to, kabutabi, run out like ganavim, like some kind of shodadei laila. We had to run out. Hashem had to make a miracle and say to Paro, to Moshe, take them out in the morning, do me a favor. Paro came to Chatzi Alayla. He came at midnight and he said, get them out of here already. You're right, just go. Hashem said to Moshe, don't take them out at night, take them out in the morning, so they don't say they're taking them out like shodadei laila, like ganavim, like stealers. And still the Gemara says that when Alexander the Great became king, the Egyptians came to Alexander and they said, these guys stole from us money, let them pay him back. It's a whole argument in the Gemara. What did the Jews say to the Egyptians? Yeah, you're right, we took your money, but also make all the calculation of how much we worked for you, times 210, 600,000 men. What does the Gemara say? All the Egyptians left their shoes. They call this poiluch, and they all ran away, and everybody, that was the end of the story over there. But in this Geula, we're gonna go kumamiyut. That's why when a tzaddik dies, we're so sad. Tzaddikim are not supposed to die, guys. They don't have averot. And even if they do, are we gonna be zocher? I remember when Rav Ovadia Yosef passed away, I never forget this. Right next to him, like, I don't know, a week or two later, Ariel Sharon passed away. I don't know, you guys remember who Ariel Sharon was? The guy who kicked the Jews out of the Gush Katif. I want you guys, one time, B'Shem Hashem, B'Shem Hashem, don't tell me it hurts. I want you to write Gush Katif. Really, I shouldn't tell you to do this, to go on the online, but I know you go on it anyways. So if you're already on it, you might as well see something educational. Go on it and see over there how the Jews lived in the Hitnatkut. If you're not going to cry I don't think you're human. The crying, the people, how they went in shul, they're hugging the Torah.
The soldiers
How
were
the soldiers were crying with it. They didn't want to take them out. They didn't know what to do. I saw it on Tisha B'Av, this past Tisha B'Av, another video. Such chorban. And you want to hear something crazy? The places that they left were never rebuilt.
They destroyed the whole thing.
They did,
the whole area.
but the place where they left was never rebuilt. They can't rebuild it. They can't rebuild it. The place doesn't grow. It doesn't grow. The big shul that they had never got rebuilt. It's the same broken structure that they had. That's the klala. Bracha uklala. That's no. It didn't even start. The rabbi. When a tzaddik passes away, Rabotai, we have to cry. If we don't cry, we have to speak about him. Why? Any congregation who doesn't know how to be maspid is to eulogize a tzaddik, bad stuff happens. In King David's time, Shaul HaMelech, his father-in-law, went out to kill him. To kill him, he went out. But because he didn't eulogize him correctly, Am Yisrael, they had a famine. A ra'av. Not like today, we get water and bread from other countries. With inflation, of course. There was a famine, a ra'av. I don't remember, I think it was 12 months, they had a ra'av. Ra'av, you know what a ra'av is? No food in the stores. Imagine going to, ra'av is they had a drought, they had no food. After the death of Shaul. They didn't eulogize him correctly. When a big rabbi, Rav Shalom Cohen, passes away, we're not going to eulogize him. We're not going to understand where the Chaim of Am Yisrael was, a person who dedicated his whole life for Torah, to make yeshivot, mikvaot. I want to tell you guys some positive criticism. Positive. How do we, maybe the first or second biggest community in the Queens, Long Island, this island, how do we have only one mikveh in this whole town? How does this make sense to us? I want to know. How does this make sense?
People don't understand what mikveh is. That's what.
A mikveh for men, I'm talking about. For men, yeah. How? I want to understand. How is it? There's two. One is down. One is out for the count. How does it happen? We have to wake up. What is this? If all of us over here could make something for ourselves, we can't do something for our Kadosh Baruch Hu. I was in Yerushalayim not long ago, 5-6 months ago. Every shul has a mikveh. And trust me, they're not making more money than us over there. It's positive criticism. It's not negative. I'm not giving you kachovas. But we have to wake ourselves up over here. Yes, we have Torah over here. We have a lot of shuls, many more to come. Zot Hashem. Betei midrashot, kolelim Baruch Hashem. Big rabbis coming up. Halaches, many videos. Everything is very nice. But kedusha also needs tahara. Also needs purity. I never forget. I'm going to end with this. Actually, we have 5 minutes. I remember learning in the book Shut Min HaShamayim, She'elot V'Tshuvot Min HaShamayim, or Rabbi Yaakov Mimorish, one of the Baalei HaTosafot. He lived 800-900 years ago. He has a book called Questions and Answers from the Heavens. Probably one of the first books I finished in the Rishonim. I was so excited to hear, like, all your life, you growing up in a Sephardic world, Ari Kadosh, Ari Kadosh. You grow up to Ari is your it's your son, and suddenly you hear that 800 years before him there was a rabbi putting questions and asking from the Shamayim, and halacha is based on him. Halacha is based on him. So he once asked a question over there. He says over there, how come Mashiach isn't coming? We're talking 800 years ago, for the love of God. How come Mashiach isn't coming? This is right after the Crusades. Because what could Am Yisrael do to hasten the Geulah? You know what he says over there? They answered him from Shamayim. I've said this to you guys before, but you guys forgot.
Have babies.
No. Baby. I think any rabbi, especially you said that right now, any rabbi who has a young couple learning with him Hilchot Nidah, Chatan Kala classes, and that couple tells them, we don't want to have kids right away. And the rabbi says, you know what, it's okay. There's many things in life you could say it's okay. Many leniencies you could find. But if Hashem went out of his way to put it as the first mitzvah in the Torah for the love of God, then maybe we should do more to promote it. Putin, I heard, is giving, I don't know, 1,000,000 rubles to any Russian woman who's having more than what? How many kids?
8 or 10.
8, 10 kids.
10 kids and
This is a goy, a murderer,
16 G's.
a murderer. And he's giving that. What are we gonna say? Yeah, you don't want to have kids? I'm in school. And you know how many cases I've seen after she came out of school?
Nothing.
Believe me, she can't get pregnant for 4 or 5 years. I'm telling you, I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm not gonna say anything. But a person has to have a moach bekot kodo. You're dealing with Hashem Yitbarach. You're dealing with the boss over here. You're not gonna tell him when you're gonna get pregnant and when you're not. But we live in a very liberal world. My job is to talk to you guys. I have nothing more than that. You understand? Let's go back to Rabbi Yaakov Mimorish. Rabbi Yaakov Barat Tosafot. Rabbi Nutam Makatan. Said, they answered from Shammai, how come the Geula is mitakev? He said, if Am Yisrael would be makbid to dip in the mikveh before they daven, the Geula would have come. And then they answered him again. Because the first answer wasn't good enough. They said to him, Am Yisrael can't dip in the mikveh. We have a lot of sensitive people. On Shabbos, maybe. Yeah, listen, Abraham. I'll give you Shabbos. But at least the Chazanim, at least the people who are representing the Kahal, they should come b'kedusha u'b'tahara. It's written in the book, Shut Min HaShamayim. You can open it up yourself. I see you. If you want, after the shir, I'll tell you the page. Not right now, obviously. I have to go home and look at the page. What's the kedusha of the mikveh? I think it's a shame for us that we have one mikveh open in the whole town. It's a shame. In a positive criticism. Positive, not in a negative way. It's a positive criticism. We have to come together and make a mikveh, a normal mikveh. Where is our tahara? When Mashiach Tzidkenu comes, you can't touch food until you go to the mikveh. How do you think they had Ruach HaKodesh and Nevuah? These guys that were in constant state of prophecy. You know, I'll tell you guys, I want to tell you something. You know, we look at Rabbi Akiva, at Rabban Shalom Gadaev, all these big rabbis, al Tanaim, like, wow, how are they so smart? Right? You know how they were so smart? They had the leftover of the ashes of the red cow. Says the Ari HaKadosh. They used to sprinkle themselves with the ashes of the red cow. They used to know the Shemot HaKodesh of Zechira. You know what Zechira is? Memory. And when they used to learn Torah, they were like a computer, a magnet. That's how they used to know. Today we don't have that. We have it, by the way. Not the ashes of the red cow. If we would have that, it would be a different story. The Shemot we have, Shemot HaKodesh. Of course, you know, you have to be careful before you use these things. If you're allowed to even. But at least we have one thing that nobody could take from us. Chazor v'chazor. Review and review. How much of us review the Mishnayot we learn? The Gemarot we learn? The Halachot we learn? Even me, sometimes I see myself, it's a shame. Mamish a shame. What happened to all the Torah? All the Bet Yosefs, all the Gemarot, all the Dafim. But you know what? I'll be honest with you. It says over there, a person who learns Torah, just learns Torah, Ashraf. You know what Ashraf? Ashrei Yoshrei Vetecha. Blessed is the one who learns Torah. Why is he blessed? Yizochele Olam Haba. But then David HaMelech says something else. And this is the key thing why I look at my life as a working person and a father. First and foremost, a father. I'm talking to all the fathers out there. First and foremost, you guys don't know what koach you have as a father. When you're an active father, you're actually teaching your kid your ora chokhmah, your mamish ora chokhmah. Yigia kapecha kitochel, a man who eats the fruit of his own labor. Ashrecha, you're blessed. What did we say by the guy who learns Torah? Ashrei yoshev betecha, right? This guy, Ashrecha, what does King David then finish? V'tov lach, and it's good for you. A person who works for his own parnasa, and he also learns Torah, and he makes sure to make his time that every open moment is to learn Torah. Ashrecha v'tov lach. And it's also good for you. And it's also good for you. That means we all sitting over here, we're working people. We have the ability to go beyond all those guys in the yeshiva. We wish we were there. They're living in Gan Eden, by the way. Those guys in yeshiva, they are living in Gan Eden already. That's what Gan Eden is, by the way. I'll be honest with you. If you want to know what Gan Eden looks like, go inside the yeshiva. Just the difference is, in the actual Gan Eden, you actually feel it a bit. You see Hashem's names all over. You feel it more. But that's Gan Eden. That's why we have Shabbat, by the way. What's Shabbat? I want to tell you one small story of Shalom Cohen. And I'll finish. What's Shabbat? Rav Shalom Cohen, he was a student in Porat Yosef, and he opened up a small yeshiva, snif. Snif means a branch in Katamon, which is in Yerushalayim too. Like a small, in the shul, he opened up another part of the yeshiva. So once the people, Gabriel asked him, the yeshiva guys, they asked him in the yeshiva, they said, Rebbe, we want to be mevatel ben azmanim. What's ben azmanim? There's 2 times a year where the yeshiva guys take 2 to 3 weeks off. Break. One is between Tisha B'Av and Chodesh Elul, which is about 2 weeks, which is right now. And one is Chodesh Tishrei, I believe, like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, that time. That's like the 2 biggest ben hazmanim. Then there is like that 1 week for Pesach cleaning and stuff like that they give them. But the 2 big ones is Tishrei, because it's the whole month, and Tisha B'Av till Chodesh Elul. So they went to Rav Shalom Cohen, and they said to him, Rebbe, we want to be mevatel ben azman. We want to cancel it. Am Yisrael is not learning Torah during ben azmanim. Look how many tragedies happened. The accident in Yerushalayim, the shooting, the stabbing. It's all of these 2 weeks. The death of Rav Shalom Cohen, the passing. So he said, listen, I agree with you guys, you got to cancel it. Chazak. But he said, I'm not going to do it. Look how anaf he was. I'm not going to do anything without first asking the Ashkenazi Gadol Hador. He's Iraqi. He's asking Ashkenazi. That's why his name was Shalom. Or says Shalom Bimroma. So they said, who was the Ashkenazi chief at that time? Rav Shach. Rav Elazar Menachem Manshach. Let's go to him. Rav Shach looks at them and he says, you guys are saying good, but I don't agree. Before we cancel Ben Azmanim, why don't we work on learning more Torah on Fridays and Shabbat? There are 2 days a week where it's supposed to be the days where we learn the most Torah, and we waste it on shtusim. What are they? Friday and Shabbat. When they went back to Rav Shalom Cohen, you know what he said? If he said that, I agree with him. Look at the anava, but look at the message to us. How do we spend our Shabbatot? How do we spend our Fridays? B'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, may our words be a nachat ruach to Moreinu V'Rabeinu Maran Rav Shalom Cohen. May all the sponsors, everybody who came to the shiur, be blessed with bracha, matzlacha, zivug agun, refuah shlema, yishor gedolot. May you all be zocheh to see him again in Tchiyat HaMetim, b'biat Goel Tzedek, working in Beit HaMikdash as the Kohen Gadol. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashia Omer.